5. Chapter 5: A Higher Frequency. Gabriel's life began to find a new rhythm, one that was grounded in faith and driven by a higher purpose. The challenges he faced only deepened his resolve, and the successes, though different from those of his past, were sweeter and more meaningful. He was no longer just a DJ, he was a messenger, a conduit for God's love and light through music. Word of Gabriel's transformation spread, and soon he found himself in demand not just as a performer but as a speaker. Churches, youth groups, and conferences began inviting him to share his story, to speak about his journey from the pinnacle of worldly success to the peace and purpose he had found in Christ. At first, Gabriel was hesitant. Speaking wasn't his strong suit, he was used to letting his music do the talking. But he realized that his story had the power to reach people in a way that music alone couldn't. And so, with some encouragement from friends and mentors, he began to step onto the stage not just as a DJ, but as a witness to the transformative power of God. One of his first speaking engagements was at a large church in Nashville. The congregation was filled with young people, many of whom were fans of Gabriel's earlier music. As he took the stage, Gabriel felt a wave of nervousness, but it quickly dissipated as he began to speak from the heart. Gabriel shared the story of his rise to fame, the emptiness he had felt despite his success, and the moment that had changed everything, the quiet encounter in a small church that had led him to God. He spoke about the struggles and doubts he had faced, the challenges of living out his faith in an industry that often rejected it, and the incredible peace and purpose he had found in surrendering his life to Christ. As he spoke, Gabriel could see the impact his words were having. The audience was captivated, many of them moved to tears. After the service, people lined up to speak with him, to share their own stories of faith and struggle, to thank him for his honesty and courage. These speaking engagements became a regular part of Gabriel's life, complementing his music ministry. He traveled across the country, and eventually around the world, sharing his testimony and performing his music at churches, conferences, and festivals. His reach expanded beyond what he had ever imagined, as people from all walks of life connected with his message. Despite his growing influence, Gabriel remained humble. He knew that his success was not his own, it was a gift from God, and he was merely a vessel. He continued to surround himself with people who kept him grounded, who reminded him of the importance of staying true to his calling, even as his platform grew. One day, Gabriel received an invitation that took him by surprise. A major mainstream music festival, known for its cutting-edge acts and massive crowds, wanted him to perform. It was a rare opportunity to reach a secular audience, and Gabriel knew it was a chance to plant seeds of faith in a place where it was desperately needed. But the invitation came with a catch. The festival organizers made it clear that they didn't want any overtly religious content. They wanted Gabriel's music, but without the message that had become central to his work. It was a test, a challenge that forced Gabriel to confront the tension between his faith and the world he had once been a part of. Gabriel spent days in prayer, seeking God's guidance. He knew how much this opportunity could mean for his career, but he also knew that compromising his message would mean betraying the very thing that had brought him this far. In the end, Gabriel made his decision. He contacted the festival organizers and thanked them for the opportunity, but he made it clear that he wouldn't compromise his message. If they wanted him to perform, they would have to accept all of him, his music and his faith. To Gabriel's surprise, the organizers agreed. They were intrigued by his conviction, and they recognized the unique impact he could have on the festival. And so, Gabriel prepared for one of the biggest performances of his life, knowing that he was stepping into a space where his message might be met with resistance, but also with open hearts. The day of the festival arrived, and Gabriel took the stage before a massive crowd. The energy was electric, the atmosphere charged with excitement. But as Gabriel looked out at the sea of faces, he felt a calm confidence. This was his mission field, and he was ready to share the love of God with those who needed it most. Gabriel's set began with some of his more familiar tracks, the beats pulsing through the crowd, drawing them in. But as the set progressed, the music shifted. The lyrics grew more introspective, more focused on themes of redemption, hope, and divine love. The crowd, initially there for the music, began to sense something deeper. Then, at the peak of the set, Gabriel paused. The music faded, and for a moment there was silence. Gabriel stepped forward and spoke into the microphone. "I know a lot of you came here to dance, to have a good time, and that's what music is all about. But I want to share something with you tonight that's even more important. I've been where you are, I've chased the highs, the thrills, the fame. But none of it compares to the peace and purpose I found when I encountered the love of God." The crowd listened, some curious, others skeptical, but all attentive. Gabriel shared his testimony, the story of how he had found faith and how it had transformed his life. He spoke about the emptiness that success couldn't fill, and the way God had given him a new sense of meaning and direction. As he spoke, the atmosphere shifted. What began as a music festival started to feel like something more. A moment of connection, of introspection, of people searching for something greater than themselves. Gabriel ended his set with one of his most powerful tracks, a song that blended soaring melodies with lyrics that spoke of God's love breaking through the darkest of nights. As the final notes faded, the crowd erupted in applause, not just for the music, but for the message that had touched their hearts. After the festival, Gabriel received an outpouring of messages from people who had been at the show. Some were moved by the music, others by the message, but many were deeply affected by both. For some, it was the first time they had heard about God in a way that resonated with them. For others, it was a reminder of a faith they had once known but had drifted away from. Gabriel knew that this was just the beginning. The festival had opened doors he hadn't even considered, and it showed him that there was a hunger for truth, for hope, even in places where it might not be expected. As Gabriel's ministry grew, so did his music. He continued to push the boundaries of what was possible, blending genres, collaborating with artists from different backgrounds, and finding new ways to reach people with the message of God's love. And through it all, Gabriel remained committed to his calling. He knew that his life had been transformed for a purpose, and he was determined to use his gifts to make a difference in the world. Whether performing in a church, a festival, or a small gathering, Gabriel's mission was the same: to share the light of God's love with everyone he encountered.